What's up guys, Kylan with Legends Boxing. Let's talk about defense. This month in our gym, we're doing a defense challenge with all of our members. And these are gonna be the list of the drills that we utilize. These are all gonna be contactless drills, so you can work these without a partner. Basically, the minimum that you need is space to move. So tune in for the drills we're about to show you guys. So the first drill that I like to practice on, whether I'm warming up for sparring or working on defense, I call this offense defense shadowboxing. And so typically, you're gonna have to think a lot about this, but let's say I'm shadowboxing a 1-1-2. Okay, so for me, that's gonna be, I'm left-handed, that's gonna be a jab, jab, cross. Every combination I throw, it's good to watch yourself in the mirror, I am also going to do the applicable defense after it, right? So for a 1-1-2, if I throw a jab, jab, cross, I can go catch, slip, rock. That would be a form of applicable defense. There's tons of combinations. I go 1-1-2, slip, slip, step back, 1-1-2, catch, slip, pivot out. There's a lot of different ways you could roll with just that combination. You can do it for all sorts of kinds. I can go 1-1-6, jab, jab, overhand, catch, catch, roll. So essentially with offense, defense, shadowboxing, whatever combination you throw, you defend immediately after. You practice that applicable defense. All right, so what are some of our options as far as defense for each of these individual punches? I'm gonna show you guys right now. I'm gonna keep it relatively simple. And basic, fundamental. So 1s and 2s, these are our straight punches. To defend these 1s and 2s for my offense, defense, shadowboxing, I could catch the 1s and 2s, I could slip the 1s and 2s, I can rock the 1s and 2s, or I can pivot with the 1s and 2s. That's gonna be the defense for those. Getting into our hooks, our 3s and 8s, these are going to be looping punches. Our 8 specifically to the body. So if I'm defending a 3 or an 8, I could catch the head, catch the body, catch the head, catch the body. I could also roll these hooks as well. Those will be the defense. If you do the combo 1, 2, 3, you're gonna pick one of those for 3. When it comes to uppercuts, 4s and 5s, coming up to the body or up to the head, body or head. For these uppercuts, the defense I would apply is I would either drop and catch, or I would rock or step back out of the way of these uppercuts. Finally, our overhands, for us that's our 6 and our 7. How I'm gonna defend these is I'm either going to catch the overhand, or roll the overhands. So if the combo is 1, 2, 3, 6, 1, 2, 3, 6, my defense could be slip, slip, catch, roll, or any combo of those defensive movements specific to the punches being thrown. Now, let's say you want to add a little bit more difficulty and a more of a conditioning and power aspect to that offense, defense, shadowboxing. You can also do offense, defense bag drills. If you got a heavy bag available, double end bag, any type of punching, striking surface, you can do this as well. For example, let's say I'll just do easy 1, 2, 3, jab, cross, hook. I can throw that jab, cross, hook on the back, bang, 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 and then I'm going to immediately defend that. Pop, pop, roll, move again. 1, 2, 3, block, roll. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, catch, slip, pivot, change my angle. So throw the combo on the heavy bag and then defend the combination immediately after. Train yourself to have that reaction so you're not throwing combinations and just standing in place when you're done. 1, 2, 3, catch, catch, roll. Another drill I like to implement, whether this is into my shadowboxing or my warm-ups that helps me with defense, I call it the slip triangle, okay? So if you ever notice when you watch boxers, their head is never stagnant, right? It's always moving in kind of these erratic patterns, making them a much harder target to hit. This is one thing that I've used that helps kind of train that head movement. So how this is gonna work, essentially, if you have a mirror, you can draw this on a mirror to kind of help you see. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna visualize it, because you can do that as well. So I'm gonna put a triangle in front of my head, here, 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 and here. 1, 2, and 3. The numbers are important. Make sure you number the angles of your triangle. So again, here's mine in front of me, 1, 2, and 3. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a list of combinations for head movements. So maybe next to it I write 1, 2, 1. What that would mean is, so here's my triangle, my head is in the center of it. slip my head to 1, come back to center, slip my head to 2, come back to center, drop my head to 3, right? So if the combo is 1, 2, 1 for the defense triangle, I'm going to go 1, 2, 1. If the combination is 1, 3, 1, I'm going to go 1, 3, 1. I can make it even more erratic. I can go 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. And the goal is to implement those short head movements, make them fast, erratic, and you can incorporate them into even longer combinations. But again, the number system is important. My triangle, 1, 2, 3. Head always starts in the center between 1 and 2. 1, 2, and 3. Another defense drill I really like to implement, you gotta move your feet, okay? Feet and footwork are probably one of the most important aspects of defense. I would put that ahead of catching and head movement. I mean, think Lomachenko and that crazy footwork he's got that keeps him out of danger oftentimes. So this drill, I call it slipping, stepping, and pivoting. Okay, so it's going to be broken up into essentially 3 groups. Okay, the first one is going to be slip, slip, pivot out, or slip, slip, pivot in for the first group. The second group is going to be step, step, pivot out, or step, step, pivot in. And the third group, you're going to combine the two, and it's going to be step, slip, pivot out, or step, slip, pivot in. So now I'm going to demonstrate each one. Group 1 with the slip, slip, pivot out. Depending on which way you start your slip is dictating where you're going to pivot. You're getting your head offline, then moving out of the way. So if my first slip goes off to my lead side, slip, my second slip, I'm going to take that step and pivot in. Just like that. Again, I'll demonstrate it again. Slip, slip, and I pivot in. If I go the other way, if I base my slip off my trail side, slip, slip and step, and then I pivot out. I create that angle. So slip, slip, pivot out, or slip, slip, pivot in. Now we're gonna go step, step, pivot out, or step, step, pivot in. This is great if you're on the offensive or the defensive, dictating where you're stepping. If I'm on the offense, I'm gonna step forward. Step, step, pivot out. Again, I can reverse that. Step, step, pivot in. Okay? You can also work off the back step. Step, step, pivot out. Step, step, pivot in. If you're being more evasive, that way you don't end up stuck to the ropes. The last one, slip, step, pivot out, slip, step, or pivot in, or vice versa. Step, slip, pivot out, step, slip, pivot in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to step, slip, and pivot out. I could also do that going backwards. Step, slip, and pivot out. Or I could do the pivot in. Step, slip, and pivot in. Step back, slip, and pivot in. So essentially you're gonna work it in that order. Slip, slip, pivot in. Slip, slip, pivot out. Step, step, pivot out. Step, step, pivot out. Step, step, pivot in. Step, step, pivot in. Off the back step. I'm gonna step, slip, and pivot out. Step, slip, and pivot out. Step, slip, pivot in. Step, slip, and pivot in. Working that into my shadowboxing or standalone, developing footwork and head movement together. All right, guys, this is one of my next favorite tools as far as practicing defense. This is called a slip line. So a slip line, you can be very creative. I've seen people take 2 wraps, tie them from bag to bag, practice slip line, throwing punches. I used to have one in my basement between 2 studs. This is just a steel cable between my posts on the ring. All it is making a line. You want to line it up to where it's about shoulder, chin height. And essentially all we're going to do is we're just going to implement this into our shadowboxing and our footwork. This could actually be a little bit of a leg burner as well. So I'm going to get into my boxing stance on the line. My hands are up. Now, as I'm moving, when I roll towards my trail side, in this video I'm southpaw, so I'm left-handed. So when I roll towards my trail side, I'm not gonna move forwards or backwards. I'm just gonna get underneath the line, keep it short, kind of caught on my ear there. If I roll to my lead side, I'm going to advance down the line. Again, I want my rolls to be as short as possible. I don't want these big, huge, overdone movements. It's all in the legs, short movements. Bang, 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 bang. Now, let's say I get to the end, right here, I'm closer to the camera. If I were working away, now I reverse that sequence with my footwork. If I roll towards my trail side, I take a step back. If I roll towards my lead side, I just move towards the lead side. Regress, here. Now, to make this more dynamic, I can start adding in punches and combinations. A general rule to follow is you want to slip, rock, or slip or roll in the direction of the last punch you threw. So in this case, if I'm going to be rolling this way, 1, 2, last punch I threw, I'm going to roll. 1, 2, 1, roll. 1, 2, roll. 1, 1, roll. And working in combinations into your slip line work. All right, so if you don't have a slip line available to you, this is also another great option. Again, a lot of these cool things, these can be done anywhere, okay? If you have a basement, a space, a park, a lot of these can be done. But I just call them bob and weave laps, so kind of like the same pattern with the slip line, but I'm just doing it on the floor. I can incorporate slips in this as well, so I'm moving my head and my feet, so as I'm going forward, I can roll forward, roll to the trail, advancing, roll, roll. I could also incorporate slipping, 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 roll, slipping, slipping, roll. Also working back, roll, 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 slipping, rolling down the straightaway. So we call those bob and weave laps. Punches can also be introduced, but the focus should be coordinating your head movement with your footwork. So as I roll to that lead side, as I drop, I step out. As I come up, I bring this foot with me. If I'm rolling towards that trail side, drop and step out, bring the foot with me. Make sure to keep your hands up here. I see a lot of people too early and too fast developing the habit of this. Right? You're gonna get caught with the backhand. Same thing off the slips. These kind of slip movements, there's no reason to be doing that. Practice these fundamentals. Make sure you're keeping your hands up here. I like to touch my eyebrows or my cheekbones as I'm practicing my head movement, making sure I develop these proper habits. So, these are a few drills, minus the partners that are very difficult, or sorry, not difficult, very helpful for defense. And building up the proprioceptive aspect of moving your body, syncing it up with your legs and your feet. And it's gonna be tricky at first. I definitely recommend start slow and practice them often, okay? Don't do them a couple times, like, oh man, it's not working. Drill it over and over and over again. Implement it into your training any way you can. Showed you several ways with mirrors, heavy bags that you can do this. And remember, when I look at defense, I look at it in 3 areas of importance. The most important being your feet. It doesn't matter how good your head movement is or your blocks are. If your feet are nailed to the ground, you will get tagged eventually. Second most important thing is your guard. Making sure your hands are up. Your catching's on cue. You can see things to block and catch them. The third most important would be your head movement. You see a lot of fancy highlight reels nowadays of these guys moving their head, doing these epic, highlight combos, head work sequences, which are great and is a good tool, but it takes a long time to develop that. And you have to be able to see, you have to have the athleticism to respond to those things. And so typically I'm only moving my head reacting to a punch when I know what punch is coming at me. Other than that, I like to keep my head movement short and sporadic off my catches to make me a harder target to hit versus reacting too late. So as you guys are practicing your defense, look at it in those areas of importance. Footwork, guard, and then head movement. And then implement it into your training any way you guys can. I'm very excited about this challenge we're doing at my gym. And if this could be helpful for you guys for your defense, feel free, let us know. Or if you have any other ideas for any other videos, shoot us a comment.